Hello friends and welcome. I'm Patty Paulsen and I'm here at Sunburst Sanctuary and in our temple where there has been many people who have meditated in this room, and the essence and energy is so strong and powerful of that presence of meditation. And I do hope it can be conveyed to you where you sit right now as we go forth in our online inspirational service. And before we start, I'd like to start with a prayer. Holy Mother, Father, beloved friend, and all the saints and illumined ones who are our teachers and guides, please be present with us as we move through our time together in this service and meditation, so that we may find within ourselves the peace and comfort and guidance to move through this life, keeping our gaze on the pole star of our life, in the temple of our hearts. Om, peace, Amen. And our prayer will bring us to our topic today of stilling the mind and finding peace within. Stilling the mind or controlling the mind has been spoken and written throughout the ages up into the present time of those on the road to awakening that consciousness within them of their higher self realization. And I'd like to read a few of these quotes. In the Bhagavad Gita, it states, Arjuna, who is the devotee, and his teacher, Krishna, have this conversation. Arjuna speaks and states, verily, the mind is unsteady, tumultuous, powerful, obstinate. O Krishna, I consider the mind as difficult to master as the wind. And Krishna answers and states, undoubtedly the mind is fickle and unruly, but by yoga practice and by dispassion, meaning conscious control of our impulses and emotions, the mind may nevertheless be controlled. And Paramahansa Yogananda quoted, you may control a mad elephant, you may shut the mouth of the bear and the tiger, ride the lion and play with the cobra. By alchemy you may learn your livelihood. You may wander through the universe incognito. Make vassals of the gods. Be ever youthful. You may walk in water and live in fire. But control of the mind is better and more difficult. And Jesus stated, and I'll paraphrase this, when you pray, not to just have your prayer be outward without coming from a center within, to go within in your closet, to shut off the outer sensory energies, to go within and sit there in silence with the Father and receive that blessing. And today, in the world of all this technology, the internet, the smartphones, it's more important than ever to gain a balance, a center within ourselves, to be able to realize it and cultivate it and discover it. If not, all this social media and all this likes and dislikes and desires and pulling us outward, outward, outward into the sensory world through so much technology, we can lose our way, we can lose our focus and our attention span. And it can bring us to a place of feeling very lost or lonely, stressed, anxiety, depressed. And this is what's happening. We can see this disharmony in the world today, more than ever. So it's so important, more than ever, to find this balance of going within and learning and discovering the center, the anchor within, and from there conduct our life. There's a writing from Michael Goldstein that I found that I really thought was appropriate for this topic today that I'd like to read. Your mind, more specifically your thoughts, affects your perception and therefore your interpretation of reality. And I'd like to read that sentence one more time. Your mind, and more specifically your thoughts, affects your perception and therefore your interpretation of reality. When you change your thoughts, you will change your feelings as well. And you will also eliminate the triggers that set off those feelings. Both of these outcomes provide you with a greater level of peace in your mind. Your mind is a tool, and like any other tool, it can be used for constructive purposes or destructive purposes. Your mind can become your best friend, your biggest supporter, and someone you can count on to be there and encourage you. You can be in control of your thoughts. The choice is yours. So if the choice is ours to be in control of our thoughts, we have to be in a place where we observe our thoughts. And for the most part, with all the thoughts that are restlessly moving in our mind, we are in those thoughts. It's like it's hard to see the forest through the trees. It's hard to see your thoughts when you're in the midst of them. Like the cream in the milk, once it's homogenized, you are so a part of it that it begins to control your reality, your life. And it's only when we can find a place within ourselves to pull back see from a different perspective, to be able to sit and observe our thoughts, is when we can begin to plant with the use of our will, with power, into the field of power around us, the power of our life force with will. Plant seeds of thoughts that we want to entertain and see, instead of allowing thoughts to control our life. And when we have the awareness to clear our mind out of the unproductive energy of unwanted thoughts, we'll have so much space in our consciousness and in our mind that we can begin to control our thoughts in our mind and truly tap into a peace within us all, the stillness of a peace that is part of our reality. And when we begin to just consciously become aware of thoughts, we may begin to see that a lot of these thoughts are a voice within us creating these thoughts that are pretty critical. Critical of ourselves, even critical of others. Judgments, likes, dislikes. Critical of ourselves. Things that we hear in our thoughts. Some we say out loud, I can't stand myself. Or things we say inside, I can't do that, I'm no good. I just can't. I'm too stupid. I can't do that. I don't have any faith. I don't have any courage. I am just so tired and sick. Well, those thoughts are being registered into you, into your subconscious mind. And they're becoming a part of your reality. So catching these thoughts is a big part of stilling the mind and finding peace and joy that we really are. And what we can do is change those, catch those thoughts. And the way we can catch them is working on being here now, present in this moment now. Because this is where the thoughts are, right here now. And if we think a critical thought about ourselves or another, place it with something positive, a positive affirmation. Affirm that affirmation with the power of your will. Change it to the opposite. Think more thoughts about someone positive if it's a critical thought. Just try that exercise. Look into the mirror and say to yourself, if you're down on yourself or criticizing, catching those critics, thoughts inside of you, and affirm, looking right at the mirror, I am well, I am joy, I am love, I am courageous, I can and I will do the mission that is asked of me this day and fulfill my work. This is power. This is giving ourselves the power that is there and not allowing them to be wasted in useless thoughts. In useless thoughts that take our power. And we may begin to observe, as we become more aware of our thoughts, how much we fear, how much we fill our thoughts with fear and worry of what could possibly happen. What if? What can happen? I'm afraid of this. What if this happens? Catch those thoughts. And this is where, again, we can use the power of our will to plant a conscious thought, a conscious seed into the field of power of what we want to see in our future. And trust and believe in it. And hold on to that. That helps us still our mind instead of being a prison of our thoughts. And then there's always the thoughts of the past, things we regret, or things that have angered us or hurt us in our past, or people that have upset us or hurt us. And the story can grow and become more and more negative and bigger and more sensational. But is this of a help to clearing and stilling our mind and finding peace within? Or does it just leave us with a bellyache of more of the same? We can be the master of our thoughts, help heal those wounds, help move on, help forgive, help love. Let love and light come into those thoughts in healing. And then realize the new episode of what opens up in front of you, of being able to have the expansiveness of your consciousness freed from the imprisoning thoughts that bog us down and keep our minds so restless. And of course, one of the best remedies for helping us become aware or observe our thoughts and learn techniques of not judging or fearing those thoughts, but learning how to take the power out of those thoughts, is through meditation. The practice of meditation, and how important it is, even if it's for a short amount of time, twice a day. Give your mind a break by meditating twice a day, clearing, just as we like to clear the screen of our computer, to clear the mind. Clear it so it has a freshness of every day. And to read now a quote from Swami Sivananda, who was my first stepping stone of going into the Sivananda ashram in New York City when I was young. And I had all the fears and anxieties and doubts and worries. But when I opened that door and closed the city behind me and walked in and learned techniques of yoga that helped calm my body and relax me of tension, and it helped relax my mind and calm my mind, and I began to learn the tool of being present. And that practice led me, it was a stepping stone that led me here to this practice of Sunburst, at Sunburst Sanctuary and the Sunburst teachings that were founded on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda and our teacher, Norman Paulsen. And I've been practicing here for over 45 years. So I bless Swami Sivananda for helping start me on my practice. And his reading is, therefore, turn the gaze within, shut the doors of the senses, restrain the turbulent mind, slay the doubts of the intellect, fill your heart with the nectar of faith and devotion, serve humanity selflessly, do mantras, concentrate, meditate, pray, and wait, and seek the peace within. So before we go into our silent time of meditation, I'd like to go over a few pointers to help us relax our body and calm the restlessness in our minds. Because it's this restlessness that usually deters people from meditating or makes people not even be able to meditate because they can't face all the thoughts that are there, that they're beginning to notice, that are always there, but they're just beginning to notice when they close their eyes and begin to meditate. Yogananda stated, "In perfect stillness of body and mind, the yogi enjoys the ineffable peace of the presence of the soul." So before we meditate, it's important to be relaxed in your body, free of tension. Because if the body is tense or restless, so will the mind be tense and restless. So let us begin first with a scan of our body, to be at home in our body, to move into our body with awareness and consciousness. Just by bringing awareness into your body, notice how it has calmed and relaxed your body and your mind. And Yogananda offered a breathing exercise, which is an inhale, double inhale, and a tensing, holding the breath, and a releasing and relaxing. And you do this in the morning when you wake up. It's natural. When you stretch, wake up and exhale. And if you have cats in your house, you just notice a cat and they'll always remind you of this exercise. So we can do this a few times on our own. We're going to just tense the body with our inhaling breath. Hold that tension and then exhale through the mouth, releasing all that tension. Let's do this 1 or 2 more times on our own. Just notice now how you feel. Another way of helping us to release and relax tension in our mind is with our breath. And the beauty of the breath is that you can control your breath in a way to help control the mind. And now that we have more space in our body, we can breathe more deeply. And we can do a count, an inhaling count through our nostrils, maybe a comfortable count of 5 or 6 or 7 with our inhaling breath. And pause that same amount of time. And exhale that same count. And do what works for your body. Let's try that 2 more times on our own. Inhale. Pause with the breath. And exhale the same count. As we inhale, count that works for you. Full belly breath, diaphragmatic. And pause. And exhale through the nostrils if you can. For as you calm the breath, it calms the mind. And you can feel it. And it's important to, as we draw our energies in now, to learn techniques of concentration and attention, which is needed for meditation. It really helps to bring our awareness to what we call the spiritual eye or the single eye, the third eye, the seat of awareness. And it's right here inward from this point between the eyebrows, down from the crowns of our heads. And if it's not comfortable to place our gaze here, we place our gaze right out in front of us at this point, and to close our eyes until you just see the tip of either your finger or this pencil disappear. And you stay calm here. And what helps us calm our mind, again, we can do a breathing exercise. Because as we calm our breath, we calm our mind. We calm the restlessness of our thoughts. And to just be here now, in this presence. And thoughts will come. You will begin to observe your thoughts. But as you keep your gaze steady, the thoughts will be dissipating like clouds in the sky. You'll see them, but you'll keep your gaze here. Yogananda stated, no matter how often the mind is distracted during meditation, exercise great patience by continuous daily effort. You will succeed in establishing your mind on the joy of the soul. And if in your meditations the thoughts are too restless, you can always go to devotion. Open up your heart and give all your strength, all your love, all your heart, all your mind, all your soul to devotion and love, to an image of God that is pleasing to you, an image of the higher power that is pleasing to you. Offer all you are and just be there, either with a mantra or just a word or two, just keeping the mind present on that devotion and love for God. And that will draw you into your attention, and your concentration will be strengthened to move through the restlessness of thoughts. And before we move into our quiet time now and take this practice into our meditation, I'd like to read these words of Saint Teresa of Avila. You need not go to heaven to see God, nor need you speak loud as if God were far away, nor need you cry for wings like a dove to fly to him. Only be in silence, and you will come upon God within yourself. to be still and know that I am God right within us. So let us now move into our time together of meditation. Before you end your meditation, make sure we take the time to let the technique go. Whatever technique we used, let it go. And make time for the contemplation, this time of being here now in this presence of peace and stillness. The quietude of our soul. For this is the essence, the icing on the cake. To have this time of true prayer, communion with God, where no words, no prayers, no songs, just to sit here in this presence, this stillness. For this is where true prayer takes place. Once, Mother Teresa was asked, when you pray to God, what do you say? And she answered, I don't talk, I listen. And then the question was, well, what does God say to you when you pray? And the answer was, God just simply listens to me. That's being in the pocket of God's communion. It's the divine romance of being present. For as we still the mind in the silence of our being, the space between thoughts begins to open up, where we can press beyond our thoughts, move beyond thoughts, and be in the presence of this ocean of peace, of God's presence, of pure consciousness, where the eternal hum of the creation is heard, where the light of God shines brilliantly. Norm Paulsen wrote, thoughts as energy particles exist upon the surface of pure consciousness, like clouds in the sky. God is the space between and around my thoughts. God is pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is infinite bliss. Pure consciousness exists in the space between the sensation of one thought and the birth of another. When thoughts suddenly cease, pure consciousness speaks. It is the voice of God saying, I love you. Stop thinking and see and hear God speaking to you. So as we go forth this day, may we establish this peace in our hearts and in our minds and in our actions. For this is truly how we can become the change that is so needed in this world today to help bring about peace and harmony. And to end again, this quote from Swami Sivananda. Peace is absolute serenity and tranquility, wherein all the mental thoughts, moods, emotions cease entirely, and the individual soul rests in his own nature in an unruffled state. Peace is the realm of infinite bliss, eternal life, and eternal sunshine, where all distinctions of caste, creed, and color disappear in the warm embrace of divine love. Namaste, and thank you for being present here today in this service.